What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video, and today I am beyond excited to share with you a brand new library from Sonixinema called String Shades. So we're going to be doing a quick overview of the library plus a giveaway at the very end, so big thanks to Sonixinema for sharing a copy with me and with you as well. So yeah, let me just quickly jump into the library, share with you what it's all about, and then we'll go into a demo and share with you the sounds inside as well. So String Shades is essentially a library with it's more of a textual library. So that there's two things you need to know. Number one, this is not a library with legato. So this is not a traditional string library. There aren't these standard articulations. We will cover what it does include in just a second, but it's more of a textural library. So there is no legato included. It's meant as more of an atmospheric library. You basically use it to enhance your compositions with more like organic sound design sort of stuff from the string section. The second thing is that it requires the full version of Contact 6.8 and above. So I currently use the Contact 7, so it works in there, but you do not want to use it with the free Contact player because it will not work. So you do need the full version of Contact for this library. Other than that, it's a 14-piece chamber string ensemble, basically exploring different textural elements. Instead of playing everything perfectly like most sample libraries, they kind of ask them to play more musically, kind of coming in and out from their own devices, basically inspired by their own tendencies. And that's basically what this library covers. In terms of size, it's 14.5 gigabytes. You download it via Pulse. And then they give you some demos and more demonstrations and more info about the library in general here as well. So with that being said, let's kind of jump on in. And yeah, as you can see here, I had to pull it up from my filed section here in Contact 7. So you have to go into the library, you pull out the patches, and then that's where you drag it into Contact or double click to activate the patches. So looking at the folder structure themselves, this is the library itself. So we go into String Shades, and then there's the documentation, instruments, and samples. We're going to go into instruments because that's where the Contact patches are located. Then we have singles, pairs, and designed. So singles and pairs are pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that singles brings in one articulation at a time. So in this case, I chose undulating, but you can activate these other articulations as well in the same patch. It'll just give you a warning that it might overload the voice count in Contact. Pairs basically bring in two of those articulations at once. So undulating and emotive, they kind of are activated together when you bring in those patches. But it basically is just a quick shortcut there. And then designed is basically sound design patches based on those original source sounds from the strings. So with that being said, let me just play undulating for you. We'll go over these 5 chord articulations and then we'll share our thoughts a little bit here. So here is undulating. Right, just a beautiful sound overall, and you can hear how the performances are coming in and out. It feels very raw and organic. Very difficult to achieve that from a traditional sample library, especially if you're trying to program that yourself. You're trying to ride up and down the mod wheel to get those different expressions. It's not really going to ever sound as realistic as if the performers are doing that themselves. So that's undulating. Let's have a listen to emotive, and this is my personal favorite because you really hear the passionate vibrato in those performances. Beautiful sound. Let's move on to pulsing here. Okay, then we have wild trills. So it brings up a warning here, or more of like a disclaimer telling us that we can play both minor and major trills. And basically, when they say minor trills, they're actually talking about minor thirds. And when they say major trills, they're talking about major seconds. So you can play major second trills and minor third trills. And then that's activated by velocity. So for the major seconds, basically you play lightly. And then when you want to play hard, you get those minor thirds. So this is what it sounds like. Right, so you can get some really beautiful colors there just by playing a different velocity. Again, play lightly, you get major seconds. Play hard, you get minor thirds. And then finally, the last chord articulation is the fragments. Right, so you can really tell it's more of a textural library there. Again, no legato, but you can combine sounds as you like. So speaking of which, let's kind of do that. Let's hear a motive plus fragments together. Right, and you can combine up to all 5 together if you want to. And of course, you can mix and match in terms of the volume. So maybe you don't like how loud one is over the other. You can just control the volume there. And of course, you can control the panning accordingly as well. So quite flexible, which is really nice. So that's kind of the core backbone of the library. But what this library does uniquely is it also introduces a character option. So I have it turned on. By default, it's turned off. But basically, I think this controls the overall volume of those character sounds. If we go into the folder here, we have these different almost like pad options or little additional sounds to enhance your original source material. So we have haze, dream state, flicker, stargazing, and apocalypse. And if you click the name, that activates that character. So we can play these on their own, or we can have them in addition to the source sound. In this case, let's just have a quick listen to this haze pad by itself. Right, so it has that high sheen there, which is quite lovely. So now that we have undulating activated, let's hear that in combination with haze. So I'm going to unsolo it so we hear haze and undulating together. Right, so haze is a little subtle there. You can barely hear it, but it does add that sort of high sheen to it. I can also pull down undulating so we can hear more of that character. Right, so quite lovely there. Okay, let's hear these other characters on their own here. So we have Dream State. I'm going to solo that up here. All right, let's hear flickers. Then we have stargazing. And apocalypse to finish. Right, so you have a lot of possibilities here. Basically, you have 10 source sounds, but these 5 are treated as additional layers on top of your source material if you want that. So if you want them all turned off, you can just do that. You can click that switch. If you want it turned on and you want, a specific pad or atmosphere added onto your source material, just make sure that's activated and make sure the solo button is not clicked, because if you do, then it's going to make just that character sound. So just be careful there. All right, and then you have the standard mixing options, right? Global and mix tabs, and then the reverb, delay, all that kind of stuff. But for me, I tend to like to focus on the source material itself because it just sounds so beautiful and I can get so far with just those sounds themselves. And then as we mentioned, there are the pairs, which are multiple of the chord articulations placed together. So basically the same thing, they just give you sort of a shortcut there, activating multiple of those chord articulations at once. Let's hear a few of these designed patches. So we have up to 20 of them. I've just chose a few of them here. So let's listen to At Peace. Right, and like you would expect, the dynamics are all controlled by the mod wheel. So by default, it's assigned to the mod wheel. So it kind of introduces, I think it feels like more instrumentation, more layers, and at the very bottom, it's very timid and very quiet. So it's dynamics plus the intensity of the performances, which is really cool. Then we have Defy Them. Very strong character, that one. Then we have Jaded here. Sleight of Hand. I love this name because I do card magic, so it fits me. Right, so you can see these design patches are basically just multiple of the chord articulations blended together, or sometimes it's just the one articulation and they played around with the different effects down here at the very bottom. So they got to have a lot of fun with this library based on the source material. And then finally we have the End, which is the very last sound design patch. All right, and there we go. So I hope you would agree that this is a not very traditional library, but very beautiful nonetheless. It is quite unique. It reminds me a lot of libraries like Time Macro and Microphone orchestral tools, very sound design based, but still heavily inspired by the organic sounds of the orchestra, right? And this one in particular, the strings, it would be very cool to see if they do, woodwind shades or brass shades, fill out the rest of the orchestra with this sort of concept. One thing I am a little bit surprised about is that it's not a contact player library. I'm sure it's just like it comes down to cost and weighing the pros and cons of having it in contact player. But libraries in contact player tend to be a little bit easier to see, obviously. And when you scroll down your libraries, you see which ones are available. Sometimes seeing a specific library is like, oh, I would love to use that sound in my piece, right? Whereas if they're not in your contact player library, they're stored in your files. we don't really look at these files every single day. At least I don't. So sometimes, the library can just pass me by and I don't even remember I have it because it's not in my contact player tab where it's so clearly visible. So that's just a personal thing there. Other Sonixinema libraries like the Intimate Legato series, that's all in contact player. String swells and wind swells, those are in there as well. So it would have been super cool to see string shades here too, but totally understand, the company decides what's best for their products and for the future, and you can't have it all. So that's what it is what it is. But yeah, thanks again to Sonixinema. Let's get into the giveaway. So I think it's been at least a few months since we last did one, so I'm really excited for this. But the same 3 rules apply. So number 1 is to leave a comment. Number 1 is to fill out the form below in the description box, enter your details there, your email address, and I will you'll be entered into the system. And then in a couple days, I'll reach out privately through email to let you know who the winner is. So make sure you fill out that form there to be entered into the giveaway. Number 2 is to leave a comment below this video, letting me know why you want this library, what you would use it for. It's always helpful to know, and I just love seeing what you use different libraries for, the different application processes. So definitely let me know down below as a comment. And number 3 is simply to like the video. It helps the channel a lot and is greatly appreciated as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. Good luck in the giveaway. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you again to Sonixinema, and I'll see you there. Take care.